Commander Vrax tapped his three-fingered hand against the viewing port, dark eyes tracking the small blue planet rotating lazily in the distance. Patrol duty at the edge of Kral'Nor space wasn't exactly the most exciting assignment, but it paid well enough. And besides, observing primitive species had its own appeal. Commander, we are picking up unusual energy readings from the third planet. Lieutenant Jorah called from her station, her antennae twitching with curiosity. Vrax sighed dramatically. Let me guess. They have discovered nuclear fusion again? How many times is this now? The fourth. Actually, sir, it's the fifth recorded instance. But that's not what I'm concerned about. Jorah's voice dropped to a whisper. The energy signature matches nothing in our database. It's off the charts. Off the charts. Vrax scoffed, mandibles clicking with amusement. These humans can barely leave their own atmosphere without blowing themselves up. What could they possibly? The ship trembled suddenly, lights flickering as something massive passed within kilometers of their hull. One of the 7 moons was that. Vrax shouted, gripping the command rail for stability. Science Officer Dozak turned from his console, face pale beneath his blue scales. Commander, I believe the humans have achieved faster-than-light travel. Impossible. Vrax spat. Their technology is centuries away from... Look, Dozak pointed to the main screen where a sleek, metallic vessel had appeared, seemingly from nowhere. It was unlike any human craft they'd seen before. Smooth, predatory lines reminiscent of the ancient warships of the Tarvan Empire. Oh, this is just perfect, Vrax muttered. We spend 3 decades monitoring these primitive apes, and the moment I'm assigned to watch them, they decide to join the Galactic community. The High Council is going to have my head for this. The communications officer, a small, green-skinned prill named Nevix, looked up from his station with wide eyes. Sir, they are hailing us. In perfect Galactic Standard. A heavy silence fell over the bridge. Galactic Standard was a language so complex it had taken the Kral'Nor nearly a century to master after first contact. Put them through, Vrax said finally, straightening his uniform. And somebody give me the first contact protocols. I know we had them somewhere. The screen flickered to life, revealing a human female with short black hair and piercing blue eyes. She wore a simple gray uniform with no visible insignia of rank. Greetings, vessel of the Kral'Nor Dominion, she said, her voice calm and measured. This is Captain Rosalind Taylor of the Earth Alliance ship Prometheus. We have been aware of your observation posts for some time now. We thought it might be polite to finally introduce ourselves. Vrax's mandibles twitched nervously. How do you know who we are? The human smiled, and something about that simple gesture sent a chill down Vrax's spine. Commander, we have been studying you just as intently as you have been studying us. Perhaps more so. We have decoded your communications, analyzed your technology, and learned your languages. We are quick studies, you see. Lieutenant Jorah leaned closer to Vrax. Sir, that's impossible. Our encryption is not as secure as you think, the human interrupted, her hearing apparently far more acute than the Kral'Nor had believed. Now, I suggest we arrange a formal meeting. Your High Council with our representatives. We have much to discuss. Vrax fought to maintain his composure. Captain Taylor, I must inform you that unsanctioned entry into Kral'Nor space is a violation of the human laughed, and the sound was both musical and somehow threatening. Commander, I'm afraid you misunderstand the situation. This isn't Kral'Nor space. According to the Galactic Concordat of Spatial Rights, which your people signed with the Arcturian Alliance, this sector falls under neutral territory. We have done our homework. The Arcturian Alliance. Dozak whispered. How could they possibly know about? We know many things, Taylor continued, including the fact that your dominion has been systematically absorbing smaller species into your empire for the past 3 centuries. Some willingly, others less so. Vrax felt his blood run cold. That information was known only to the highest echelons of Kral'Nor government. What exactly do you want, human? He asked, dropping all pretense of diplomatic formality. Taylor's smile faded, replaced by an expression of steel. Peace, Commander. but peace on our terms. Humanity has slept long enough. We have watched your wars, your conquests, your alliances. We have learned from your mistakes. The ship's tactical officer, Vrax, a hardened veteran of 3 border skirmishes, suddenly gasped. Commander, I'm detecting multiple vessels emerging from FTL. They are everywhere. The main view screen split to show a tactical display of their surroundings. What had been empty space moments before now contained hundreds of human ships, appearing from nowhere like predators emerging from camouflage. As you can see, Commander, Taylor continued, we come prepared. The Prometheus is just one of many. Earth has united under a single banner, and we have spent the last 50 years building in secret. While your observation posts watched our public space programs stumble and fail, our real work happened elsewhere. This is an act of war, Vrax said, though his voice lacked conviction. No, Commander. This is an introduction. Had we wanted war, you would never have seen us coming. Taylor's expression softened slightly. We have observed how the Kral'Nor treat new spacefaring species. The tribute demands, the technological restrictions, the protective oversight. We decided to skip that particular formality. Science Officer Dozak was frantically analyzing readings from the human fleet. Commander, their ships are using an energy source I have never seen before. It's not antimatter, not fusion, not anything in our databases. Quantum singularity drives, Taylor said casually. Quite efficient. One of many technologies we have developed while you thought we were still playing with chemical rockets. Vrax sank slowly into his command chair. 50 years? You have managed all this in 50 years. Humanity has always excelled at warfare, Commander Vrax. It's in our blood. For most of our history, we have turned that talent against ourselves. But now we have found a better purpose for it. The tactical display updated again, showing even more human vessels emerging from FTL. The Kral'Nor patrol ship was completely surrounded. The High Council will never accept this, Vrax said, knowing even as he spoke that his words rang hollow. They will, Taylor replied confidently, because the alternative is unthinkable. Your intelligence services have files on Earth's history, I'm sure. Review the sections on human warfare, on what happens when we are truly provoked. Vrax had indeed read those files. The savagery humans had inflicted upon each other throughout their history was disturbing, even to a species as militaristic as the Kral'Nor. You claim to want peace, yet you threaten us with your fleet, he noted. We have studied your culture, Commander. The Kral'Nor respect strength above all else. So we are speaking a language you understand. Taylor leaned forward. But make no mistake, this is a fraction of what we can bring to bear if needed. And if we refuse your terms, Taylor's expression didn't change, but her eyes hardened. Then you will learn why every intelligent species in the universe should fear humans who feel threatened. A new alert sounded on the tactical station. Vrax looked up, his face ashen. Commander, we are detecting quantum fluctuations from the human fleet. They are locking weapons. Vrax raised a hand. Hold position. Take no aggressive action. He turned back to the screen. Captain Taylor, I am not authorized to negotiate on behalf of the High Council. I request time to contact my superiors. Of course, Commander. You have 1 hour. I suggest you impress upon them the seriousness of our position. Taylor's image flickered off, replaced by the view of Earth and the surrounding human fleet. The bridge erupted in panic chatter the moment the transmission ended. How did they develop so quickly? Where did that fleet come from? We are outgunned at least 50 to 1. Vrax silenced them with a sharp gesture. Lieutenant Jorah, establish a quantum link to High Command. Priority Alpha. Dozak, I want everything we have on human warfare history compiled into a brief. Vrax, tactical analysis of their fleet capabilities. Nevix, search the archives for any mention of this quantum singularity drive technology. As his crew scrambled to follow orders, Vrax turned back to the view screen, studying the human ships with new respect. Their design was elegantly functional, clearly built for combat, yet somehow beautiful in their deadly efficiency. Clever apes, he muttered. You have been playing us all along. High Command responded within minutes, an unprecedented speed that told Vrax everything he needed to know about how seriously they were taking the situation. Commander Vrax, the face of Grand Admiral Pex, filled the screen, his normally impassive features tense with concern. Your report is disturbing. Are you certain these humans have deployed quantum singularity technology? The readings are conclusive, Admiral, and they claim to have more capabilities we haven't yet observed. The Admiral was silent for a long moment. The High Council is convening an emergency session. Your orders are to maintain position and avoid any action that might be perceived as hostile. Under no circumstances are you to engage the human fleet. Understood, Admiral. But what about their demands? What exactly are they demanding? They want formal recognition and a guarantee of non-interference. They are essentially demanding to join the galactic community as equals, not as a subject species. Admiral Pex's expression darkened. That is unprecedented. No species has ever entered the interstellar stage with such advanced technology without prior detection. Sir, with respect, I believe they are telling the truth about studying us. They know things about our history, our alliances, even our classified operations. Impossible. Our security protocols have been compromised. Vrax finished. Admiral, I have reviewed the historical files on human warfare. If even half of what's recorded is accurate, we don't want these beings as enemies. The Admiral's eyes narrowed. Are you suggesting capitulation, Commander? I'm suggesting pragmatism, sir. The humans outnumber and outgun us in this sector. And if they have been hiding their true capabilities for decades, who knows what else they are concealing? Before Pex could respond, Lieutenant Jorah called out, Commander, the human captain is requesting to speak with you again. Vrax glanced at the chronometer. Barely 15 minutes had passed. Not the hour Taylor had promised. Put her through, he ordered, turning to face the screen once more. Captain Taylor appeared, her expression grave. Commander Vrax, I apologize for the interruption, but there's been a development. One of your patrol ships in the Rigel sector has opened fire on a civilian human transport. What? That's not possible. I gave no such order. Nevertheless, it has happened. The transport was damaged, but our response vessels reached them in time. No human lives were lost. Taylor's voice was level, but there was steel beneath it. However, this changes the nature of our conversation. Captain, I assure you if this occurred, it was not authorized. Please, allow me to— Your patrol captain has been placed in custody by his own crew, Taylor interrupted. Apparently, not all Kral'Nor share their leadership's expansionist views. The crew has requested asylum. Vrax felt his world tilting. Kral'Nor officers turning against their own? Unthinkable. This is why we have chosen to reveal ourselves now. Commander, Taylor continued, your Dominion's aggressive expansion has created enemies even among your own people. We have been in contact with several species who have suffered under Kral'Nor protection. They are eager for change. You are trying to fracture our Dominion, Vrax realized aloud. We are offering an alternative. Peace, cooperation, equality. Concepts that the current Kral'Nor leadership seems to find difficult to grasp. The ship's sensors suddenly blared another alert. Vrax checked his console, then turned to Vrax with wide eyes. Commander, we are detecting multiple quantum jumps throughout Kral'Nor space. Human vessels are appearing near every major world in the Dominion. The tactical display updated to show a galaxy-wide view. Human ships were emerging everywhere, near every significant Kral'Nor military installation and population center. As you can see, Taylor said calmly, our reach extends far beyond this single fleet. We have been preparing for this moment for generations. While your observers watched us launch our primitive rockets, our real ships were already moving through the shadows of your empire. How? Vrax whispered, unable to comprehend the scale of what he was seeing. How do we miss this? You saw what you expected to see, Commander. A primitive species stumbling toward the stars. You never considered that we might be aware of your presence, adapting our public face accordingly. Admiral Pex, still on the other communication channel, looked shaken. What are your terms, human? He asked, his voice no longer carrying its usual authority. Taylor nodded respectfully to the Admiral. recognition of Earth and all human colonies as sovereign territory, non-interference in our affairs, and most importantly, an end to the forced integration of developing species into your dominion. Those are our core demands. And if we refuse, we have studied your history as carefully as you have studied ours, Admiral. The Kral'Nor rose to prominence through warfare, but you have grown complacent. Your tactics haven't evolved in centuries. Your technology has plateaued. Taylor's voice remained calm, but her eyes were cold. We, on the other hand, have been fighting and innovating throughout our entire existence. War is in our DNA. The implication hung in the air, unspoken but clear. I will convey your terms to the High Council, Admiral Pex said finally. Thank you, Admiral. For what it's worth, we truly do desire peace. But we will not accept subjugation. Not by the Kral'Nor, not by anyone. 3 weeks after the initial contact, Vrax found himself in a position he'd never imagined. The observation ship he'd commanded for years had been repurposed as a diplomatic vessel, and he, through a twist of fate that still bewildered him, had been appointed as the Kral'Nor's primary liaison to humanity. Status report, he called out, striding onto the bridge with what he hoped looked like confidence. The human delegation will dock in approximately 17 minutes, Commander Nevix replied from his station. Their vessel is approaching at precisely the agreed speed. No deviations. Vrax nodded. The humans are nothing if not punctual. That was perhaps the least remarkable thing about them. In the brief time since their dramatic entrance onto the galactic stage, humans had upended centuries of Kral'Nor dominance with surgical precision. The High Council had accepted their terms. Not that they'd had much choice with human warships positioned near every major Kral'Nor world. But what happened next had surprised everyone. Hard to believe they're disbanding half their fleet, Lieutenant Jorah remarked, echoing Vrax's thoughts. If I had that kind of firepower, I wouldn't be so quick to decommission it. That's because you think like a Kral'Nor, Vrax said, mandibles clicking thoughtfully. Humans don't need to maintain a massive fleet to prove their power. They have made their point. The tactical display showed the approaching human vessel, much smaller than the Prometheus, clearly designed for diplomatic rather than military purposes. Yet Vrax knew better than to underestimate anything human-built. They are transforming warships into research vessels, Dozak added from his science station, converting weapon systems into exploration technology. It's unprecedented and brilliant, Vrax admitted. They're showing the galaxy they don't need to rule through fear. Unlike us, he thought but didn't say. The Kral'Nor Dominion had spent centuries expanding through intimidation and occasional force. The humans had flipped the script, displaying overwhelming military might only to immediately pivot toward peace. Sir, Brex called from Tactical, we are receiving a transmission from Admiral Pex. Put him through. The Admiral's face appeared on screen, looking tired but resolute. Commander Vrax, the Council has reviewed the final treaty draft. We have approved all provisions with one exception, the humans' request for open technology sharing between our civilizations. Vrax suppressed a groan. Admiral, we discussed this. The humans already possess technology superior to ours in many areas. This isn't a demand. It's a genuine offer to collaborate. Many on the Council see it as a ploy to further weaken our position. Pex replied stiffly. With respect, sir, that kind of thinking is exactly why we are in this situation, Vrax said, surprising himself with his boldness. The humans have demonstrated they could have destroyed us. Instead, they're offering partnership. Pex's expression darkened. Watch your tone, Commander. Your recent association with these humans doesn't give you the authority to lecture the High Council. No, sir, but my position as liaison does require me to convey reality, Vrax countered. The humans will be docking shortly. What shall I tell them? The Admiral was silent for a long moment. The Council requires additional time to consider this provision. 48 hours. Very well. I will inform them. Vrax nodded respectfully as the transmission ended, then let out a long breath through his spiracles. They're still thinking like conquerors, not partners, Jorah observed quietly. Centuries of habit are difficult to break, Vrax replied. But they will learn. The alternative is extinction. The docking alert chimed, interrupting their conversation. The human ship had arrived early. So much for their famous punctuality, Vrax muttered, straightening his ceremonial collar. Brex, Jorah, with me. Let's greet our guests. The docking bay was spotless, the honor guard positioned perfectly, a formality that would have been unthinkable just weeks ago. The airlock cycled, and 3 humans emerged. Captain Taylor led the delegation, flanked by 2 others Vrax hadn't met. A tall male with dark skin and a shorter female with intricate markings etched into her scalp. All wore the simple gray uniforms that seemed to be standard among human diplomatic personnel. Commander Vrax. Taylor greeted him with a slight bow that humans used instead of the traditional Kral'Nor salute. Thank you for hosting these discussions. Captain Taylor. Vrax returned the bow awkwardly. Welcome aboard the Sentinel. May I introduce my officers, Lieutenant Jorah and Tactical Specialist Vrax. The pleasantries continued as they made their way to the conference room, but Vrax could sense an undercurrent of tension. The humans had clearly received news of the Council's reluctance. Once seated around the polished table, with refreshments suitable for both species provided, Taylor introduced her companions. This is Dr. Alexander Pierce, our xenobiologist, and Professor Nadia Singh, our lead physicist. The architect of your quantum singularity drive, if I'm not mistaken, Vrax said, nodding towards Singh. The woman smiled slightly. One of many contributors, Commander. Our technological advances are rarely the work of individuals. Another difference between our peoples, Vrax noted, the Kral'Nor value individual achievement above all else. Which explains your hierarchical power structure, Taylor observed. But perhaps we should move to the matter at hand. We understand the High Council has reservations about technology sharing. No point in dancing around it, Vrax thought. They have requested 48 hours to consider the provision. Taylor and her colleagues exchanged glances. That's disappointing, she said finally, but not unexpected. Fear of change runs deep, especially in established powers. They fear what they don't understand, Vrax admitted, and humans remain a mystery in many ways. Pierce, the xenobiologist, leaned forward. Perhaps that's where we should focus our efforts, then. Cultural exchange before technological exchange. An interesting proposal, Vrax said. What exactly did you have in mind? Open your worlds to human visitors. Let your people see that we aren't the monsters your historical records paint us to be. And in return, Earth and our colonies will welcome Kral'Nor delegates. Students, scientists, artists, not just diplomats and warriors. Vrax considered this. The Council might find that less threatening than immediate technology sharing. It's a start, Taylor agreed. But make no mistake, Commander, the technology exchange will happen eventually. The galaxy is changing, with or without the Kral'Nor's blessing. The warning was subtle but clear. Vrax nodded slowly. I will present your proposal to Admiral Pex immediately. While you do that, Singh spoke up. Perhaps Lieutenant Jorah could show me your propulsion systems. She smiled at the lieutenant. I'm curious about your approach to faster-than-light travel. Jorah looked to Vrax for permission, uncertainty evident in her posture. Of course, Vrax decided. We have nothing to hide from our partners. After the meeting disbanded, Vrax found himself walking the ship's observation deck with Captain Taylor while their colleagues engaged in their own discussions. Your people are adapting quickly, Taylor remarked, gazing out at the stars. Faster than we anticipated. Necessity is a powerful motivator, Vrax replied. Though not everyone shares my perspective. Change always meets resistance. Even on Earth, there were those who opposed revealing ourselves to the galaxy. Vrax's antennae twitched in surprise. Truly? But your technological advantage was overwhelming. Military advantage doesn't always translate to wisdom, Taylor said softly. Some fear that exposing ourselves would lead to our destruction, regardless of our capabilities. And what convinced them otherwise? Taylor turned to face him directly. We discovered something about the Kral'Nor that wasn't in any of your official records or transmissions. What was that? that beneath your conquering nature lies a profound capacity for growth. She nodded toward where Jorah and Sing were deep in animated conversation about engine schematics. Your people value strength, yes, but also adaptation and survival. Those qualities made you formidable opponents, but they also make you valuable allies. Vrax was silent for a moment, processing her words. You planned this all along, didn't you? The show of force, followed immediately by the offer of peace. You never intended conflict. We came prepared for war, but hoping for alliance, Taylor corrected. Humans learned long ago that the most dangerous moment is often the one just after victory. How you treat a defeated opponent determines whether you have ended one war or sown the seeds of the next. The observation deck door slid open, and Professor Singh entered, her expression bright with excitement. Captain, you won't believe what the Kral'Nor have done with differential space-time manipulation. Their approach is completely different from ours, but equally valid. If we combine methodologies, the point, Professor? Taylor asked with gentle amusement. Sorry. The point is that their FTL system could be integrated with our quantum drive to create something entirely new, more efficient than either technology alone. And Lieutenant Jorah suggested this collaboration. Vrax asked, unable to hide his astonishment. Actually, it was more of a mutual realization, Singh replied. We were comparing formulas, and the potential just emerged. Vrax felt something he hadn't experienced in years. Hope. Not the grim determination that had driven his career, but genuine optimism about the future. Captain Taylor, he said formally, I believe it's time I spoke directly to the High Council, not through Admiral Pex. Your proposal for cultural exchange should be presented alongside concrete examples of what we might achieve together. Taylor nodded. A wise approach, Commander. Within hours, Vrax found himself addressing the full High Council, a rare honor for an officer of his rank. The 12 ancient Kral'Nor who governed the Dominion watched him with expressions ranging from curiosity to outright hostility. Respected counselors, he began, the humans have offered us a choice between two futures. One where we cling to past glories and eventual obsolescence, and another where we evolve into something greater through cooperation. You speak of evolution, Commander, High Counselor Draz rumbled. Yet you propose we abandon the very principles that made the Kral'Nor great. With respect, Counselor, I propose we return to even older principles, adaptation and growth. Vrax gestured to the holographic display showing the theoretical engine design that Jorah and Singh had sketched out together. This is what becomes possible when we collaborate rather than dominate. He continued, laying out the human proposal for cultural exchange, emphasizing the benefits while acknowledging the risks. As he spoke, he could see the Council's resistance beginning to waver. The humans could have destroyed us, he concluded simply. Instead, they are offering us the stars. The silence that followed was profound. Finally, High Counselor Mira, the eldest of the 12, spoke. You have spent more time with these humans than any of us, Commander Vrax. Do you trust them? Vrax considered the question carefully. I trust their intelligence, Counselor. They understand that genuine peace is more advantageous than perpetual conflict. And I believe they are sincere in their desire for partnership rather than domination. A remarkable assessment from a Kral'Nor warrior, Mira observed. Perhaps I have evolved, Vrax replied, earning a few surprised chuckles from the younger council members. The council voted unanimously to accept the cultural exchange proposal, with technology sharing to be revisited after 6 months of successful integration. When Vrax delivered the news to Taylor and her team, their relief was palpable. This is just the beginning, Taylor said as they finalized the details. The galaxy is larger and more dangerous than either of our species realized. We will need each other for what's coming. What exactly is coming, Captain? Vrax asked, sensing there was more she hadn't revealed. Taylor's expression grew serious. Our deep space probes have detected evidence of a civilization far more advanced and far less friendly than either of ours. They appear to be methodically harvesting resources from entire star systems at the edge of charted space. And you believe they will eventually reach our territories. It's only a matter of time. Taylor activated a small projector, displaying images of massive structures orbiting distant stars, systematically dismantling planets. We call them the Harvesters. We have been monitoring them for decades. Vrax felt his blood turn cold. This is why you revealed yourselves now. You need allies. Yes, but not just any allies. We needed the Kral'Nor specifically. Why us? Because your people understand warfare in a way few others do. Humans excel at innovation and adaptation, but the Kral'Nor have millennia of strategic experience. Together, we might stand a chance. Vrax studied the images, his tactical mind already analyzing potential weaknesses in the alien structures. How long do we have? At their current rate of expansion? 30 years, perhaps less. Not much time to unite a fractious galaxy. Taylor smiled grimly. That's why we started with the most formidable species we could find. The rest will follow your lead. So all this talk of peace and cooperation is absolutely genuine, Taylor interrupted. But peace among ourselves has become a necessity for survival, not just an ideal. Vrax nodded slowly, understanding dawning. You woke from your slumber because you sensed a greater predator. Precisely. Humans may be war gods, Commander, but we prefer to direct our wrath outward, against true threats. She extended her hand in the human gesture of partnership. Are the Kral'Nor with us? Vrax clasped her hand firmly. We are not just with you, Captain Taylor. We will lead the charge. In the months that followed, the galaxy watched in amazement as the once aggressive Kral'Nor dominion transformed into the cornerstone of a new interstellar alliance. Cultural exchanges flourished, with humans and Kral'Nor working side by side on everything from art to zero-point energy. The combined fleet that eventually assembled to face the Harvesters was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Human ingenuity paired with Kral'Nor tactical expertise, supported by technologies from a dozen other species who had joined the alliance, standing on the bridge of the flagship. A massive vessel co-commanded by human and Kral'Nor officers. Vrax reflected on the strange journey that had brought him here. From obscure patrol commander to one of the architects of galactic unity. Having second thoughts, Taylor asked, now an admiral in the United Fleet. Not at all, Vrax replied, just appreciating the irony. For centuries, the galaxy feared the Kral'Nor. Then they feared humans. Now both our species are their last, best hope. Fear is a powerful motivator, Taylor said, echoing his words from months earlier. But hope is stronger. The tactical display showed thousands of allied ships moving into formation, preparing for humanity's first true interstellar war. Not against each other, but standing together against the darkness. You know what the other species are saying about us? Vrax asked, mandibles clicking in amusement. What's that? That humans may be war gods, but the Kral'Nor taught them how to lead an army. Taylor laughed. Fair assessment. Now let's show the Harvesters what happens when sleeping gods awaken and bring friends. As the fleet jumped to FTL, Vrax couldn't help but wonder what his ancestors would think of this moment. The mighty Kral'Nor, fighting alongside species they once would have conquered, led by humans who had forced them to evolve through a masterful combination of threat and opportunity. Perhaps, he thought, this was always the true path to greatness. Not conquest, but collaboration. Not domination, but partnership. And, as the stars blurred around them, Vrax knew that whatever waited at the edge of space, it would face something unprecedented, a galaxy united by the unique strengths of each civilization, with humanity's sleeping war gods fully awakened at its heart. The Harvesters had no idea what was coming for them.